Good afternoon, Melissa. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, never a bad day. It's never a bad day here in Florida. Um,
Yeah.
so we're excited to be here. We're gonna dive into some really good stuff today. We're gonna give. I see there's a couple people on, but we're gonna give some more people an opportunity to jump on. But before we do that, I want to kind of preface why I decided to do this live, and then we'll introduce Melissa. We'll have her share a little bit about who she is and what she does. I'll share a little bit about what I do and who I am, and then we'll dive right into our live. So, for those that are watching, just a couple of things really quick. Just make sure that you like and share on the video. Share it with on your personal pages. I really do feel like this is some really good content and really good stuff. There's a lot of people struggling out there with a lot of different things. And, feel free to comment below with any questions, anything that you have. And we'll put the questions up right on the screen. We'll set some time aside for that specifically. And we want to make sure that we answer, some of the concerns and doubts that people have going into business or being in business already in whatever industry that they may be in. So here's why I decided to do this. If you see the name, so to speak, that I decided to give this was the Mindset Makeover. So I'm going to show that really quick. The Mindset Makeover. And a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, I was doing something called Mind Shift Mondays, where I kind of brought on different people with different areas of expertise to kind of touch on some of the things that they're really good at, that they've overcome. And I had some success with it. It kind of fell off and I stopped doing it. I got caught up in the whole move to Florida. A lot of different things happened, but I wanted to get back into it because I had a lot of really good feedback, and there's a lot of good that came out of it. So that's really in a nutshell why I decided to do this. And hey, Michelle, good to see you. Angel, good to see you guys on. And so that's really why I decided to do this. So let's start off by introducing our guest today, Melissa Anglero. Founder and CEO of Promises Kept, also a mentor. Melissa, tell us, what is Promises Kept?
Before anything, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. So Promises Kept is a business where I teach and mentor women on really bringing out their potential and their purpose in life, but using biblical truth. So I use Bible, those promises that are in there. And so it's just really mentoring people to who they're called to be, because sometimes people need that guidance.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, part of what you do is a mentor. So you're not just a business owner, you're a mentor. Tell me a little bit about what that experience has been like for you, seeing people just kind of move into that potential, move into that purpose. What's been the most fulfilling thing about that to you?
Seeing their growth, seeing them unlock that potential, seeing them come home to their babies full time, seeing them earn that extra income, seeing them not be a slave to society,
Yeah,
but really bringing out who they're called to be, those dreams, those visions, those goals coming to life. It's the biggest blessing.
That's awesome. And I think I can relate to that for sure. So a part of what I do is, my real passion is kind of in line with what you do is mentoring, more on the life coach side than anything. But, I started my own solar sales dealer about 7 months ago or so. And, I've been in the solar industry for a few years now, but that's what I do. Who I am is that I just love watching people grow, watching people get to that next level, get to that point in their life where they're really, truly happy, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that have the appearance of being happy, but they really aren't. And so we're not going to get into that aspect necessarily, because that's a whole different Facebook Live we got to do, right? So we want to focus on the entrepreneur part and the business owner part. And so I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. Melissa, I know you drink coffee. You said you were like 6 cups, right, a day before?
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cut that down.
let's have some fun with this. Cream or sugar or black?
Cream, but I don't do sugar.
No, okay. So I'm drinking mine black right now with a little bit of sugar, no cream. Of course, it's Bustelo, right?
Of course.
it's gotta be the good stuff, right? None of that watered down stuff. So I got my coffee. We're ready to go. We're gonna dive into it. I have a lot of points to put up. So for those of you watching, again, we want to thank you, welcome you. For those that are going to be watching the repeat, just thanks for tuning in. I hope you get some really good value out of this. The only reason, guys, that we took time out of our day today is to give you value. Okay. You know, our satisfaction comes from seeing people like you reach potential, right? And so the reason I had Melissa come on is because I've known Melissa. Gosh, I don't even know, Melissa.
School.
Yeah,
Years.
it's been a long time. But I've seen Melissa grow in business, grow personally. Of course, I know her family, and I've watched what she's done for herself, the brand that she's built for herself, and the followers that she has. But really, the people that she gets to influence, like her shirt says, they're influencer, right? Most people think that the word influencer is like, yeah, I'm a social media influencer. It goes so far beyond that. I think the most important thing in life we can have is not money, but it's influence, right? Because we get to change people's lives in the process. So that's just the life coach coming out of me and the mentor coming out of Melissa. So we're going to dive right into it. So first things first, Melissa, I have some really interesting statistics here that I want to pull up, and we're going to dive into the mindset traits of a successful entrepreneur. And by the way, I'm going to pause really quick. Full disclosure, guys, we are self-employed. Okay. We are in our personal homes right now. We're not in our corporate offices. So if you hear my dog bark, it's okay. I'm at home. I get to do what I love from the convenience of my home, and we're blessed to do that. So full disclosure there. Okay. You're going to like this one, Melissa. I'm going to put this one up.
Okay.
99% of all businesses in the U.S. are small businesses.
Wow.
Yeah. First thing that comes to your mind when you read that?
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID taught us how to be business owners. So many people were working from home. They saw and they, created a brand for themselves. A lot of them are doing things. And they didn't even go back to a 9-to-5 because of COVID.
Yeah. Melissa, when did you start your business?
I started June 2019, the same day I lost my job. I walked in, I was working at the college at that time. I was a full-time student as well. And I walked into work, and you never think of your job quitting on you. You always think of you quitting on the job. Well, no, the job quit on me. And I came home, started my business. I said, you know what? This is it. I was pushed into my purpose. Yeah. And I started the business, and I've been home now 4 years.
There's one of my favorite quotes says, adversity introduces a man to himself, or woman in this case, right? Mm-hmm. We're not going to leave you out. For those that, are getting ready to cancel me for saying that. But it's so true, right? Like adversity, it truly teaches you how to dig a little bit deeper, right? And I'll say this: I put something on our company chat group that we have this morning. I said, "Hey guys, I'm closing the business now. Go figure out what you're going to do." And immediately I got the response that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And it's like, "Hey guys, like your dream has to be bigger than me and the company you work for. Your dream has to be self-sufficient. Like it just can't be motivated by the, other people around you. It has to be intrinsic." And so it sounds like that's what it was for you. So you started right before the pandemic. I actually started as a result of the pandemic, which is to touch on a little bit about what you were saying. It's just, it just taught me, I want to do something better, and I don't want to build somebody else's dream and not my own. Right. And there's a lot of other things that I do, and I've been in ministry and, just a lot of different things. But my passion, number one passion in life is my family. And number two, it's building other people up. So really interesting statistic when I read that. Let's go to the next one really quick. This is another really good one. 96% of people who are self-employed, there's a little typo there, have zero desire to go back to a regular job.
I mean, why would you want to go back to a 9 to 5 when you can build your own dream? For me, I'm my own boss. Listen, if I want to pick up and go on vacation tomorrow, I pick up and go on vacation tomorrow. My office is where I am. I just came back from Puerto Rico. We spent 9 days in Puerto Rico. My office was there at the beach.
How amazing.
It is that freedom. And I go 3-4 vacations in a year because of that freedom. There's nothing like time. Time is something that we would never get back. I always say we know how much money is in our bank account, but we don't know how much time is in our life account. And taking full advantage of the freedom, being able to just pick up and go, being able to be present with my kids. There's just nothing that compares to a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Say that again. That was really good. We know how much money. Say that again.
We know how much money we have in our bank account, but we don't know how much time we have in our life account.
That's so good. For those of you watching right now, I know we have some people on. For those of you watching, that is so true. I'd love to hear your comments and your reactions. If you can comment on the Facebook Live, we'd love to put your comment up and acknowledge who you are. But that is so true. I mean, there's a lot of people that focus on, hey, what I should have done different yesterday. I should have done this. I shouldn't have done that. Like, the reality is we can't ever, at no moment in time, can we ever go back and change anything that we've ever done. The only thing that we have total control over is what we're doing right now and what we're going to do tomorrow, right? The effort that we're going to put in at just being who we are designed to be, living out our calling and our purpose is so true. It's just no wonder why, like, when you read that statistic there, 96% of people who are self-employed have no desire to go back to a regular job. Why would you want to?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, why would you want to? And look, by the way, I'm not knocking people that work at companies or that we're not, that's not what we're talking about. That we honor that. That's commendable. We're not saying that you're less than we are or that we're better than you. What we're saying is when you get a taste of walking in that kind of identity and that kind of purpose, it really changes you.
Yeah.
It changes you. So we have a comment here. It says, it's from Michelle Ryan. It says, time is the most important blessing. Tomorrow isn't promised. That's
very true.
Thanks for chiming in, Michelle. Michelle's out there in Arizona right now. So she's enjoying that heat. So yeah, so true though. I mean, time is so important. And I'm going to piggyback off of that statistic and go to the next one, which kind of goes hand in hand. 60.9% of entrepreneurs who start a business do it for their discontent with corporate America. Melissa, tell me about how were you really happy working for somebody else clocking in? Tell me about that.
Not at all. When I was clocking in, I had great jobs, great paying jobs, but I was still bound to a cubicle. I was still bound to a clock. That meant if my kids were sick, I had to call out. And if I didn't have PTO time or if I didn't have sick days, I was forced to go in or it was going to be unpaid.
Yeah.
Having to ask permission for vacation or being denied vacation because somebody else is already scheduled. It was just, I was not happy, having to set that alarm, having to rush in the morning, having to go and do these things, or, not just that, but the number one thing is feeling like a number, not feeling appreciated.
Yeah.
I was very discontent with my 9 to 5.
Absolutely. 100% true. I mean, so a little bit about my backstory on this. When COVID hit, I was in car sales. Okay. I think you probably remember that season of my life.
Yeah.
I've always been pretty active on social media, trying to tell people what I do. But I was in car sales. Look, I wasn't. I wouldn't say that I was like, top notch. I was doing okay. Money was okay. I can't complain. I worked for a great car dealer, great owner. Love him to pieces. So shout out to Carlos. But at the end of the day, I was still working for someone else. Okay. Yeah. And, money doesn't replace there's no kind of money I can ever make that would replace spending time with family. Yeah. And we got a couple people, by the way, jumping on saying hello. Hello to Aixa, and Lanice. She said, "Hey, coach." Talking to Melissa. Awesome. Love it. Yeah. love the feedback. But so I was making okay money, but I was exchanging time for money. Yeah. Okay. And when you exchange time for money, you're going to be unhappy. Okay. Because the reality is that as business owners and as entrepreneurs, do we work? 1000%. We put in a lot of time. Okay. Yeah. People think that because we're on vacation or we're working from home that we're not putting in time. I can't tell you how many times I've laid my head on the pillow and I'm like calculating things in my head and I'm working, but I'm no longer exchanging time for a dollar. Okay. And I want to teach people to do the same thing. And it's what you're teaching people as well. Mm-hmm. And so that discontent for that kind of a lifestyle is what's creating more and more interest in the entrepreneurship. Right. And there's another really good one. 88% of millionaires are self-made. Now, mind you, this is in the U.S., okay? 88% of millionaires are self-made. Melissa, how many times have you heard someone say, he has his daddy's money? Or he was born rich, or guys.
Listen, when I tell you, I'm like, I hear it a lot. I even hear it, because of, people see the way my oldest carries himself, or the car he drives, or the home I live in, or, what we do. It wasn't passed down. Yeah. It's not being passed down to my son either. Right. My son is also learning. My son himself, he has his own business. Yeah. Because I taught him that, but regardless, even if somebody, he has his daddy's money, but daddy had to work his butt off to get that money.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So it's, I think people have this is where that mindset comes in. Their mindset is so broken that they think that, and they're not realizing, like, listen, it doesn't matter. Everybody has to start from the bottom to get to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a big shout out to Kimberly for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Also, Aixa had a comment. Time is precious. Again, that's why we do what we do, trying to teach people the value of time. But going back into the self-made millionaires, look, I'm going to acknowledge this first, and I have no shame in saying this. Everything that I have, absolutely everything that I have, is because of God's grace.
Yes,
amen. It's because of his mercy. It's because of his favor over my life. Yeah. But God doesn't wake me up in the morning and clock in for me, and he doesn't call people for me. I have to put in the work, okay? So we're not going to confuse those two things. God is merciful, and yes, I am a believer, and if that offends you, I'm sorry. But this is like, we have to do our part, right? And the people that have been successful, they've worked. And the reality is, Melissa, that 9 out of 10 times the people that talk about people with money is because they're broke.
Yes.
Only broke people.
Yes. I always say nobody is going to criticize you if they're doing more than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those who criticize you is for a reason.
That's right. That's right. And so, because if I'm working and again, like Aixa just said, it's the mindset. Mm-hmm. if I'm working hard at my dream, I'm not focused on who's doing what. I'm only competing with one person, and it's myself.
Yep.
That's it, right?
Yep.
And so that mindset. And look, guys, we're gonna jump into the mindset um, that that entrepreneurs need to be successful. I haven't forgotten about that. We're just kind of setting the stage. We want to make sure that we preface this. One last comment before I get into the next one. So true, Eddie. He gives us the gifts. We have to put in the work and go for it. Yeah, absolutely. We have to be go-getters, right? He gives us the energy, the ability, the creativity, the favor. He gives us all of that so that we can go out and put in the work. But going back, I didn't grow up rich.
I didn't either.
Okay. My first car was handed down to me by my dad. I had a little 2-seater pickup truck, 5-speed. Used to drive my wife nuts. Little black with little green graphics on the side. And, my wife and I had our first child at a very early age. My wife was 16 when she got pregnant. Still in high school. Look, we've been broke. We've been bankrupt. We've been repoed. We've been laid on. I mean, we've robbed Peter to pay Paul, right?
Me too.
I've been there, right? And look, don't get it twisted. There's always challenging times where that lifestyle tries to creep back in, right? It's that, and then you start second guessing yourself, like, okay, was this worth it? Did I really need to do this? Should I go back to work? Should I do this? And then you realize really quick, no, like,
it's so true.
And so what you're saying is just so on point. And that statistic is so on point because we have this idea that something is always handed down to us, and it's not. I've worked hard to be where I am, worked hard to get to Florida, worked hard to have the house that we live in. Blessed to be able to watch it being built, blessed to be in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida, blessed to have my kids in private school. Look, and I don't say that boastfully, guys. I say that because I give all the glory to God, but I thank God for the work ethic to go out there and make it happen, right? So awesome. I hope you guys are getting some out of this stuff. So let's go into the next one. This one's for you, Melissa. I specifically found this one for you. 41.5% of entrepreneurs are women.
Let me tell you, I get a lot of people that say, oh, the business that you're in, that's for females only. And it's not. It's for both men and women. But, in a way, I love this statistic because us women, we juggle a lot too, right? Just like you guys, but we juggle so much too. Like we have the home, cooking, cleaning. Thankfully, I'm blessed with a husband who helps, with that stuff too. But we're nurturers. We have the kids. We're always on the go. So being able to be home and present with my kids is everything. Being able to, something so small. I always say gratitude is the window to blessings. And I can cook at 1:00 in the afternoon and I'm like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that this opportunity has led me to be able to do this, because listen, today, I just told you, my son had gotten a flat tire. I had to go. If it wasn't because I was home full time, I wouldn't have been able to get to him. It's just the little things. Yeah. Such a big blessing.
It really is. I mean, for those women that are watching, because we have actually, I think almost all of our viewers right now are just about women, with the exception of maybe one or two. There is no excuse. I mean, look, I was looking at statistics about entrepreneurs, Melissa, and I mean, there's just they compartmentalize so much of it. Statistics of entrepreneurs by state, by country, by race, I mean, just so many different things. There are so many excuses that people make. They use the race as an excuse. They use And yeah, I went there. They use the gender as an excuse. They use their upbringing as an excuse. They use where they live at as an excuse. They so many excuses. But what realistically, when you look at the amount of people that are self-made millionaires, they started from the bottom. Okay, they didn't use excuses. They looked at their lifestyle and they found a reason. Okay, and they found a motivation in the middle of struggle. They used pain as a motivation rather than pain as an excuse. When I read the statistics that 40 almost, I mean, realistically, you're about 8.5% away from being half of the entrepreneurs in the US. That's awesome. I think we need more of it, but it's just awesome to know that, hey, gender doesn't really play a part. Okay. It's about the mindset, which is why we're here. And it's about the attitude that you have when you wake up and when you go to bed of whether or not you're going to make it happen. Right. Yeah. You want to add anything to that?
Mindset's everything. Everything starts, even the Bible speaks about renewing of the mind. If you don't renew your mind, then how are you going to get anywhere? Those limiting beliefs, listen, mindset and intentionality.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to ruffle some feathers here. That's what I do best, really. I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Some of you need to get around some negative people. You need to get away from negative people. Like, the problem is that we keep surrounding ourselves with people that have that stinking thinking, which is what I call that poor mentality. And you are who you are today as a result of who you hang around. Look, my mom used to say it best, right? It's probably one of the most popular Spanish phrases that I heard growing up. I'm going to say it in Spanish and then I'll translate it. My mom would always used to say, and my dad too, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me who you surround yourself with. Tell me who you hang around, and I'll tell you who you are. Yeah. So true. We are a direct result of the people that influence us. Okay. And so if you want to be financially stable, hang around people that are financially stable. There's a statistic out there, and I'm not going to try and quote it verbatim, but there's a statistic out there that says if you hang around millionaires for X amount of time, you will become one. Yeah. So instead of bashing the people that are where you want to be, you should get away from the people that are holding you where you are, right? And so we'll leave that one there because I'll get all fired up. I'm already hot. And it's not the coffee. But yeah, so true. I got one more. Okay. Can we do one more statistic and then we'll jump into the points that we wanted to talk of. So I'm pretty much on schedule. I wanted to do half an hour and half an hour. So here's this one here. This is a combination. Only 20% of businesses fail the first year. That's a really good stat, right? But 50% fail within the first 5 years, and 65% of businesses fail within the first 10 years. Get a load of this one. 15 years later, only 25% of businesses survive. The reason I left this one for last is because I wanted to catapult us into what we're going to talk about, which is the mindset needed to be successful. Melissa, your reaction to this?
It's basically, for me, it's like, okay, well, how many of them had the right mindset to be on the right path to continue? Yeah. How many of them quit? How many of them did not have a mentor to teach them? How many of them, allowed life situations to stop them? Yeah. Those who did not allow the opposition to stop them succeeded.
Yeah. I don't have this stat up here, but I do have it in my notes. 40% of entrepreneurs say that the one most important factor for their success is self-discipline.
Yes. Discipline is everything, because you're not always going to be motivated. But that discipline has to come in. You got to be disciplined enough to do the task, disciplined enough to do the things.
Listen, I think there's probably not one person on planet Earth that genuinely enjoys early mornings, long nights, long days, struggling. Nobody thoroughly enjoys that. We welcome opposition and struggle because at the end of the day, we understand it makes us better, but nobody genuinely enjoys it. However, it's like you said, there's a difference. If you're looking to be motivated, you'll never be successful because there are days where you're not motivated. There are days where you don't feel so successful. It's the mindset, it's the will to keep going that makes a difference, right? So when you look at it, for those that are looking to start a business, I don't care if it's, I don't know, making t-shirts for a living or selling a product. It doesn't matter. Like, follow what you're passionate about. Okay. Don't chase the money, chase your purpose. Money follows. Money's going to follow. That's why I love what I do. I love, helping people save money on their energy bills. We're not going to talk about solar, but I love doing that. And money followed it. I love helping people and money followed. So for those of you that are looking to start a business chasing money, you're going to fail. You have to love what you do. You have to be passionate about it. To read that only 20% of businesses fail the first year, that will excite any business owner. You're like, oh my God, I have an 80% chance of making it. Yeah, but that's year one. Let me tell you why. Most people are on a really good high year one. And what I mean by high is most people have they're in that honeymoon stage of business, right? They're super stoked, super excited. Oh my God, I did it. I finally did it. I fired my boss, blah, 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 blah. And you're working you're go-getting it. And then reality sinks in. And then you have losses. And then you have people quitting. And then you have the curse of growing too fast, right? And not there's so many different variables. And it brings us into the year 2 to year 5, where now you have a 50% chance of failing. And then it goes up to 65% within the first 10 years. And then 75% after year 15. I mean, think about being in business for 15 years and then closing your doors. Right? I mean, this is why I want to do this. Look, I want to help you. I want to help you have the right attitude. I don't know everything about business. I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not, by no stretch. I am not looking to, or I'm not pretending to have all the answers for everyone today. And I think Melissa isn't either. What we do want to do is teach you some of the things that we're implementing in our personal lives that allow us to stay focused as much as we can, that allow us to stay in that grind, right? So I'm going to dive right into it. You ready, Melissa?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we want to talk about the mindset traits of successful entrepreneurs, okay? And I have my notes ready. Melissa had a chance to kind of look at some of these, and we're going to hear her feedback and her spontaneous reaction, right? There's no script to this. There's nothing written out for her to say. She's going to react on the fly and in real time. So the first thing, right? You guys ready for this? The first thing you need to have is the ability to maintain a positive attitude, okay? Melissa, I'll give you your reaction first.
Positive attitude is everything. Not all the time is your life where the day is going to be perfect. Because trust me, as a business owner, not everything is peaches and cream, right? It's not all roses. There's ups and downs to business. But the renewing of the mind every day, right? For me, it's like I have to journal. I have to read the word. I have to pray. I have to have that time with God, because that's what renews me. That's what changes my mindset, because life does happen. Absolutely. Life does happen. Last year, I was diagnosed with cancer. That could have knocked me down, but instead I renewed my mindset.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, and I know it's been a rough year or so for you. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's just another excuse for people to give up.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not minimizing what you're going through by no means, because we understand it's tough, right? Mm-hmm. I can't speak to that. But I know people, my dad himself, was going through cancer. And so I get it. My sister is the same thing. So I understand how tough it can be on people. But look, you're in control of what you allow in here. Okay. And I'm glad you brought that renewal of the mind thing, because we have to make sure that look, there's a saying that says, and you know this better, Melissa, because you're also, so part of what you do is you help people in their health, correct?
Yeah. Health
Okay.
and wellness. Yep.
Health and wellness. So you know this better than I do. You are what you eat.
Yeah.
Right? There's a saying that says you are what you eat. What you put in your body. Well, it's so true, both spiritually and mentally. Like what we feed ourselves with is what we become. And so, look, I'm at the gym probably 5 to 7 days a week, depending on the kind of week I'm having. I try and go as much as I can. And I'm at the gym, and most people are probably like listening to like some really, good, hip hop and stuff. And sometimes I do, because I like to kind of get in zone. But a lot of times I'm listening to motivational speeches. I'm listening to just things that are constantly filling my mind with that kind of renewal. Michelle Ryan said this: tame your tongue, be mindful of your thoughts. We have the power to build up or tear down, always build up. Yes, that is so true. Yes. You have the ability to speak yourself into a curse or out of a curse, into a rut or out of a rut. Mm-hmm. And so I'll say this to that point, and then we'll move on. The way you act around challenges and obstacles will reflect on the way you do business, guys. Okay. Understand that. And then to go a little bit further into that, it also affects the way the team sees you. If the team that you lead sees you as a negative person, they're not going to value what you bring to the table, because you bring them down more than you bring them up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for those of you that are thinking about going into business for yourselves, keep that in mind. Okay. Keep that in mind, because your attitude determines your altitude.
Yes.
Okay? Your attitude 100% determines your altitude. That's good stuff. We're not charging people for this, are we, Melissa?
No.
Guys, look, I mean, you can go and spend thousands of dollars at conferences. I just went to a solo conference in April. Good stuff. You can spend a lot of money on conferences, but I'm helping you for free right now to tell you your attitude is everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2. The next thing that successful entrepreneurs need, okay, is openness to anything. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll kick this one off, and then I'll let Melissa jump in on that. Running a business is very unpredictable. Do you agree, Melissa?
Yeah, absolutely. You just, every day, when you work a 9 to 5, you know what you're going to do. Yeah. You clock in, what to do. As a business owner, you know what your tasks are, what you need to do, but every day is going to look different.
Sure.
So you have to be open to change. You have to be open to different situations, scenarios that you're going to come across. You just never know what that day is going to bring.
I mean, so true, right? Like life, right? I mean, I'm going to quote a really corny line. We all probably know this line from one of the most popular movies. Life is like a box of chocolates, right? I knew you were going to laugh when I said that. Life is like a box. By the way, I'm going to pause. If you like that line in that movie, comment below. I'm curious to see who likes that quote. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? Think about how funny that line is, but how true it is, right? You remember opening up that box of chocolates and you're like, you bite into it to say, which one is this one, right? And then you get that.
You don't like it, you put it back.
You get that.
You throw it out.
Yeah, you get that. For me, it was like I hated biting into that cherry one, not the one with the actual cherry inside, but like that cherry, it was so gross.
It's like a marshmallow inside of it.
Yeah, so nasty. I can still taste that, by the way, from all the fundraisers we did in school when we had to sell chocolate. God, that was awful. Anyway, you really do have to be prepared for what comes. right? And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean prepared is like we can't always be 100% prepared for everything. But I mean, part of the way you prepare yourself, it really goes back to the first thing we talked about, which is your mind, right?
Yeah.
So um, even if you think like that certain situations are unlikely to happen, you still got to prepare for that, because the
Yeah.
reality is that we live in a constantly changing world. Things happen that are out of our control sometimes, and we have to go with the punches and stay in it, right? And in entrepreneurship, you need to be able to adapt to that changing environment, um, and to the changing ways of doing business. I mean, that's just a reality. Melissa, really quick, since you've been in business for yourself since 2019, how many times have you had to shift gears?
Whoosh. A lot.
Yeah.
Too many that I can't even count on my 10 fingers, because it's always a shift. There's always something that's changing. You just, I mean, even with the pandemic that happened, that was a shift.
Oh yeah.
That was a shift, but that was my biggest year. I hit my first six figures during the pandemic, you know? So
Woo.
it's like you're always shifting
Yeah.
all the time.
Kev Rose, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Those must be comfortable shoes. Oh, man, that's good. Um, so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because the pandemic was when I actually started my business, when people were kind of shying away. That's when I became self-employed, towards the tail end of it, of the pandemic, of course. But I haven't looked back since. And it's been, I've been on the up and up. I mean, yeah, I've had bumps along the way, and you have to adapt and shift gears a little bit. But when you're passionate about what you do, and when you don't look at it as hey, I have to go to work again, and most people look at Mondays so negatively. I love Mondays because I'm like, oh, I get to email these people, and I get to follow up on new people, and Sunday's over and we relax, and it's a whole new week. I look at Mondays as like, especially in sales, you're like, oh my God, this is another week to go crush it, right? So
It's a
I
fresh
look at it
start.
that way. So you really do have to be open to anything, because the people that have that kind of closed mindedness, when they get those things that come their way that kind of forces them to pivot or transition, that's where they fail, because they don't
Mm-hmm.
have that adaptability to pivot, right? And so that's it's an important factor. Um, Next thing, we'll jump right into the next one. The curiosity of a child, right? Melissa, what comes to your mind when you hear that, successful entrepreneurs have the curiosity of a child? What does that make you think of?
When a child is starting to walk, what do? They get into anything and everything.
Yeah.
You can tell them, no, don't go there. They're going to go there.
Yeah.
Don't touch that. They're going to touch that. You have to be open like that. You have to be willing. You have to be, have that, be curious, start new things, get into the business, start the business, learn new things, take the opportunity, figure it out later. That's just like a child. You tell a child, don't do something, don't go there. They're still going to go there. And then they figure it out later. Oh, I should have never did that.
Yeah.
Right. Or that did work out.
So true. That inquisitiveness is such a good character, like such a good trait to have. That ability to be that kind of a critical thinker, to have that kind of perspective where like, yeah, I want to know how this, like, I want to dive in, right? Just dive in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you dive in, you're like, oh my God, what did I get into? But you'll never know, right? You'll never know unless you dive in, and you see how different components of life works in business. And like, there's so much that I'm learning still in business. I love being in a room where I feel that like I'm the dumbest.
Yes. I always say, if you are the smartest one in the room, you are in the wrong room.
Absolutely. By the way, full disclosure, we're having it's like raining really bad here. And of course, I live in Florida, so we lose power more often than we like. If for some reason this live feed gets cut, guys, please stay on or stay tuned. I'll jump right back on once my backup battery kicks in, and that's the beautiful thing about having solar. So, so yeah, the curiosity of a child is such an important trait to have, because you'll never know your potential unless you really start diving into stuff. I'll put this comment up from Jenny. Jenny Porras says, taking risk into a new opportunity will lead to great destinations in your life you would have never experienced unless you leap into it. Yes. Very well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, just taking that risk, diving into that new opportunity. Look, there's people watching this, whether it's live or watching the replay, that have been on the fence about, should I do this? Should I not? Right? We've been there. I've been there. My wife was a nervous wreck when I told her I was gonna I was no longer getting a steady paycheck. Like, and by the way, when I mean steady, we do realize there's no such thing as a steady paycheck, right? You determine that. People think that a steady paycheck is because they clock in and clock out, but you're replaceable.
Yeah.
You know that company can shut down tomorrow and you're out of a job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what did the pandemic teach us? How many people were out of a job in the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. How many companies never reopened? There's just so many different things. So don't tell me that you have steady income.
Yeah.
For those that are afraid of being a 1099, self-employed, my God, you're missing out.
It's the best thing ever.
You're missing out. You really are. And we want to motivate you to go after what you've been dreaming about, after those goals that you have, right? And so the only way to make that happen is by going through all these different traits that we have, but specifically, like, just dive into it. Like, be like that child that Melissa was talking about. Like, get into everything, right? And discover, like, what works, what doesn't work. Like, how do I do this? You're not going to have all the answers when you start your own business. You're not going to have it all figured out. And I'll make you a promise right now: you're going to fail at some point. Not fail like mortally fail, but I mean, you're going to fail in some areas. Mm-hmm. You just have to keep getting back up and doing it again and doing it over again, right? And just keep that curiosity alive. Next one, really quick. You have anything to add to that one, Melissa?
Just fail forward.
Fail forward. I love it. If you're going to fall on your back so you can get up, so you can look up, right? Next one, persuasion comes naturally to you. So Melissa and I are, first of all, everybody's a salesperson. Okay. I'm going to say that. Most people, when I got into sales, everybody thought that as salespeople, we have like this stigma on us, right? Like that we're liars and manipulators. And you do realize that 100% of humans are salespeople. Okay. For those of you watching, I'm going to explain to you what I mean. We're all trying to make a point and convince ourselves of something at some point, or convince someone else. So sales is just convincing someone that they need to do something or need something. That's all sales is, right? It's a transaction. And one of my favorite authors says it best: you're either going to sell or be sold. 100% of the time, sell or be sold, right? So Melissa, we're all salespeople. I mean, think about it. Your kids, are they not trying to sell you at some point? Mom, I need this.
Every day, all day. It's like, Mom, I need this. Mom, I want this. Mom, can I buy? Like, it's in you.
Yeah.
It's already in you. And I even say it as, getting into a business.
Yeah.
Or joining a team or whatever, you're not even buying into the company. You're not even buying into the product. You are buying into that person. Okay. That person sold you on who they are, their lifestyle, what has changed, the struggles they faced, and where they are. Yep. I tell my team all the time, you didn't join the company. You didn't buy the company, you bought into me.
Yeah.
Because of the value, because of who I am, because of, what I've done or what I've said,
Yeah.
or, so it's already in you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you think, it's in you.
And one of my mentors in the solar industry, Tyler Nay, he said this best. And I'm sure it was passed down, to him, but he always told us this: people don't quit companies, they quit managers.
Yeah.
When you quit a company, it's not because it's a terrible company, it's because of the leadership directly above you. And so what we're trying to do right now is make you a better leader, right? Jenny said failure is a part of success. So true. Kat Rosa, if you watch the movie Air on Netflix on how Nike made their deal with Michael Jordan, it shows a great example of how taking risks and having childlike faith can really catapult you to new levels. Thank you so much, Kev. I actually have to watch that. I did see a preview for that, and it does look really good. But it's so true. Like you have to have that kind of childlike faith. But going back into the persuasion part of it, you're absolutely right. I mean, people buy into you as an individual, not into a company. And that's why when we sell product, we're not selling a product, right? Like for me, at least, solar sells itself.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute someone gives you the time of day to actually let you speak about solar, they quickly realize, holy cow, this actually makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I won't get into that. I'll try my best to keep neutral here. Same thing with you when you're trying to teach people the value of the health and wellness of why those products are so important. They start to realize, wow, it totally makes sense. Like, like this needs to be a part of my life. But they really bought you because of how you presented it. Okay. Because there's some terrible salespeople out there who are only in it for the money. We know that.
Yeah.
We all understand that. But then there's people who genuinely care about what they do and care about the people they serve.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to be in business, guys, I don't care what you're doing. Doesn't matter if you're actually selling a product or a service. It doesn't matter. You have to have the ability to persuade. And it has to at some point come natural to you. If you're awkward when you're trying to talk to people, if you're awkward in your approach to try and present a product or service, it's not going to go good for you. Okay. So being able to persuade people into getting a product is one thing, but persuading your team that your solutions or your service or your product are effective is another. Mm-hmm. And that's where you separate the men from the boys, like we say. Yeah. It's the companies that can relay the message to their team the best, not to their customers. Because if I can relay that to my team the best, my team can relay it to the customers the best. What do you want to add to that, Melissa?
Everything is it's true what you say.
Yeah.
It's true, and it's also by leading by example. That's what comes to my mind when you said that. It's also leading by example. Are you that person? Are you being that person that you are, what you're teaching them? Are you practicing what you preach, basically?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You have to be an effective communicator. I mean, if you can't communicate, you're just going to be a part of that statistic that we talked about in the beginning of that 50, 65, 75% fail rate because of your inability to communicate a message effectively. Right. So super important for you to have that ability to persuade, not just customers, persuade your team. Right. Because those are the people you have to communicate with first is your team, the people that you're going to have working with you and under you and for you. So brings me to my next one, being creative, right? A successful entrepreneur is creative. Melissa, I went on your page today on your Facebook page. You got a couple thousand followers. Mm-hmm. A little bit, right? I say that sarcastically, but you got a couple followers. Tell me a little bit about, not necessarily in terms of specific things, right? But tell me about the power of the creativity of your content that that allows you to be what you're wearing on your shirt, an influencer, right? Tell me about
Mhm.
that.
Um, really, I'm just sharing my life. It's what I'm doing on my Facebook. I'm sharing my life. I'm sharing what I'm doing. I'm sharing where I was, where I am, where I'm going, my vision. Um, and it's just being positive on there too, right? Because I know a lot of people take their social media, they use it for negative things, and they use it to, put other people on blast. And I'm like, no, like, influence
No.
people, bring value, you know? So that's what I do. I'm just sharing who I am, sharing my heart. And the content that I'm using, it's just really like my family. You'll see before and afters, of course, of customers and people, but it's really who you are. Share who you are. And I always say too, like you have to find the value within you and then pour that value out to others.
Yeah. So
And
good.
that's where that social media comes in.
So good. Like, I mean, if you're trying to be a business owner and an entrepreneur and you don't have that ability to be creative, you're probably not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. If your idea of being an entrepreneur is having somebody else do the creative work for you, then you're not an entrepreneur. They are, right? You have to find that in you first. Like you said, you have to find that in you before you can give that to someone else. When entrepreneurs are creative, Melissa, they go, in my opinion, they go way beyond what they want to sell. Okay. The power of creativity goes way beyond a product or what they want to solve. The most successful businesses and entrepreneurs and business people and companies in the world didn't start out from just one product, right? Like they found. Look, I know people who are in multiple industries at once. I don't necessarily recommend that to everyone, right? Like I do believe in the power of pursuing the one thing, but it's okay. It's okay to diversify yourself, and to offer your customers more than one product, right? As long as you believe in that and like
Yeah.
you're good at that, right? But the power of creativity, like it's got to go beyond your ability to sell a product, right? It has to come, like your creativity is, I think, in my opinion, the most important factor in how you innovate your products. Like there's people that come up with, they want to start a business, they want to start a clothing line or a makeup line or, whatever. There's just so many different things. And I love it. Like I love that tenacity, that courage to do that. But they're stuck in a box.
Yeah.
And part of that being creative really comes from spending time alone sometimes. Like I'll give you my example. Some of the best sermons that have ever come to me came while I was at the gym. Some of the best like Facebook posts that I put out
Yeah.
why the gym? Not because I'm inspired by people working out, but because it's my alone time, right? It's me time. It's processing time. And if you're not taking that kind of time to process things and process who you are and process what you want to do, if you're not spending that time alone in that creativity stage, you're going to be stuck. All right. And I actually put that, Aixa, this is funny. I got to share this one. Aixa says mine's in the shower.
Yeah.
I'll pause and make this a little bit comical. My time in the shower is really my concert time. Like that's where I sing. Okay?
That's when you get your vocals, working.
That's where I become Mark Anthony in the shower, boy. Y'all mind that? Oh man, that's good. But yeah, I mean that's my creativity time, right? And so everybody has their own thing. Like for some people, it's sitting outside, in the porch with a cup of coffee. For some people, it's taking a walk. For some people, it's taking a drive. For those of us like I used to have to drive to work, and I remember those 45-minute drives, I'd have conversations with God, and, I'd talk myself into stuff and out of stuff too, like it's just, there's so many different things that we do to spend that time alone. Melissa, what's one thing that you do to spend your time in being creative?
It's that alone time. I do a lot of journaling too. I do what I call a brain dump. Anything that's in my brain, anything that's running, any ideas that's happening, post, different photos, things like that. It's when I'm really doing a brain dump, everything that comes to mind. And then there's also that prayer time where the Holy Spirit is like telling you, like, hey, so that's where my post and everything comes from. It's from that brain dump.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. So now we know a little bit more about Melissa and her creativity time. So jumping right into that, right? We're going to shift gears from creativity to motivation a little bit. Successful entrepreneurs also learn how to be motivated on their own. Okay. Here's my favorite thing on how I relay this message. Okay. Now I'm going to go just touch on scripture really, really quick. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but one of my favorite stories in the Bible is when David came down. He had just defeated the Philistines, him and his army, and he came down, and the Amalekites had come into the village and had burned the village down, and they had taken all the women and children. Okay. And the guys now remember, so just to paint the story, they came from a victory and they went back to their homes to a defeat. You need to understand that as an entrepreneur, as a business, just in life in general, you'll go from victory to defeat overnight sometimes. Okay. Yeah. You'll go from a really high place to a really low place without any kind of warning. Okay. And they came and they found that the women and the men, the women and children were gone. The village was a wreck. And the men that were with David, the guys that went to battle with him, were so angry that they spoke about stoning him, about killing him. They wanted to murder David. David went to God and said, hey, God, what do I do? I'm paraphrasing. What do I do? But my favorite line in that story is the Bible says that David encouraged himself, right? He didn't look for some motivational speaker to come and pump him up. He didn't have to go out and buy a book to stay focused. He understood the power of, hey, I can't depend on somebody right now, but my own intrinsic ability to stay positive. Now, I'm trying not to let the preacher out of me, right? I'm trying to refrain. But that's how I relay that message of how to be motivated yourself. I'll go to Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is in a lot of different things, but he's somewhat in the space that I'm in right now, which is the renewable energy space. He owns Tesla, and I'm not giving him publicity, but one of my favorite real-time examples right now of that is Elon Musk. Like, apart from having everything that we've talked about so far, which he has, he's known to be a really highly driven entrepreneur. So much that, if you read a little bit about his story, a little bit about who he is, he works long hours during the week, like really, really long hours, guys. Not like a 9 to 5 hours. Like, he works excessive hours during the week to get things done. And look at what he's accomplished, right? Look at the motivation that he had to find within himself, because being a hard worker, guys, is not enough. You do realize that. Like, some people will say, well, all you need in life is to be a hard worker. No. Hard work is not enough. An entrepreneur needs to be self-motivated when everything else is falling apart, okay?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that's very true. I always say I can't motivate my team.
Yeah.
I can encourage them, I can inspire them, but I can't motivate them. Motivation is self.
Yeah.
Motivation is you, just like happiness is you, right? No one can make you happy. Your spouse can't make you happy. You have to be happy for yourself, right? And
Yeah.
so motivation is key as well, but you're not always going to be motivated. That's where the discipline comes in.
Yeah.
But that motivation, you have the power to actually motivate yourself with your words, with your thoughts, with what you do. If it's going outside to get some sun, that's going to lift you up, build you up, and motivate you, then go do that. But not every day are you going to wake up and you're pumped and you're like, yeah, I'm going to. No, not every day. But that motivation has to come from you. How bad do you want what you want?
Yeah. Listen, gosh, it's so true. Like if you're waiting on somebody to motivate you, you'll be waiting a really long time, right? Because
Yeah.
as business owners that we are, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, I tell them all the time, I can teach you everything about solar that I know. I can teach you everything about sales that I know. But the one thing I can't teach you is how to be self-motivated, is
Yeah.
how to find that grind, that grit, that tenacity, that
Yeah.
self intrinsic ability to go out and make stuff happen. You can't teach that to someone. So the ability to be motivated on your own without a book, without a speech, without a video, without a song, um, and like I've been guilty of this, right? So I remember so many times I've gone to the gym and forgot my headphones at home, and the first thing out of my mouth is like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be able to work out."
Yeah.
Because I'm depending on a song to give me the motivation. When in reality, the motivation comes from something so much greater than that. And so, if your
Mhm.
motivation is contingent on what somebody else has to say to you, on what somebody thinks about you, man, you're going to be writing a long time. Aixa said this: I start writing a book and stop. I started writing a book and stop. I need to get back to being motivated and finish the book. Discipline is key.
Yeah.
Aixa, finish writing that book. Like that's my. Don't think about how it's going to happen. Just start writing. I mean, that's my best advice to you, Melissa. What advice would you give Aixa?
Definitely just do it. Just do it. It's I always say, like, I've started things and stopped them. But then I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, I need to do this. I need to do this for me. I need to do this for my kids. I need to do this because other people need it, right?
Yeah,
So definitely just write that book, because I bet there's people that are waiting that need to see and read exactly what you have in that book.
yeah,
Share that testimony. Continue to do what you're doing.
yeah. Focus on that one thing, right? Like do one thing at a
Yeah.
time. I always say,
Yeah.
saying yes to everything is saying no to everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on that one thing, and get that done. I'm excited. And when you get that book finished, we're going to bring you on here and have you share some of your story too. So going back to being motivated, right? Like you just there's really not much. I mean, it'd be probably like beating a dead horse if we kept talking about it, because I can't tell you how many people just wait on somebody else. I mean, to
Yeah.
feel that motivation. And it's just they'll be waiting for a long time. And I think that kind of piggybacks us into the next one, which is successful entrepreneurs are resilient and tenacious, right? Um, Melissa, has your business seen hard times?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me
It
about
go up and down.
tell me about the toughest moment in your business you experienced.
It would have to be when I had my cancer. I still have it, but the surgery. It's like not being able to speak from surgery. Not being able to do certain things because of the recovery. You see things go down. I've seen my paychecks go down. I've seen the up and down the scale, but at the same time, I always say I rather have those downs, those bad moments in the business, being my own boss, than having to go back to where I used to be.
Yeah. I I agree. There's always going to be those days where everything kind of seems like it's going downhill, right?
Yeah.
And those days where I'll be honest with you, there's days where I wanted to quit and be like,
Me too.
you know, this is, there's been days where I've been thinking to myself like, man, I should just go work for something. Like I should just go sell solar for somebody else and let them deal with all the headaches and all the stuff that comes along with being a business owner. But then I remind myself why I started it in the first place.
Yeah.
And I always go back, Melissa, I think the most important thing is going back to your why.
Yes. It's so important, that why.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
Why did you start? For Aixa is, why do you want to write the book, right?
Yeah.
When you go back to that why, it makes what you do easier.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're not going to have tough moments. I'm just saying it makes you get a little bit more courage. You get a little bit more tenacity. That resiliency starts to kick in because you understand that your why is greater than what's coming against you, right? And so my best advice is don't quit.
Yep.
If you quit now, you'll quit everything else in your life.
Yeah. And also, your why is always going to change.
Yeah.
Your why will change. If you are noticing where you're like, okay, you know what? It's not giving you that push, then that means that you need to look for another why, seek something else, because my why changes. In the beginning, starting my business, my why was because I didn't want my kids to go through what I went through. I wanted to have the financial freedom. I wanted to have the time freedom. Now my why is, still for my kids, but now it's how many other Melissas are out there that need this? How many other people are out there that need this, right? My why has shifted. And my why, I'm always reevaluating my why.
That's
Your
good.
why is that, it's that thing that you hold on to so tight that's going to make you want to do the things when you don't even want to do them. That's
good. That's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to add to that because that's just so good on its own. I mean, just evaluate that why, right? Figure it out. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's going to change. And you have to be able to always go back to that drawing board and figure that out. Aixa said, this is good. I'm taking notes. Look, we have Michelle Ryan. I'm going to give Aixa some inspiration here. Michelle Ryan said, I want an autographed copy from that book. Aixa, write that book. We have your first customer. Yes. Come on now. Good stuff. Look at that. Aissa's getting some publicity here too. That's awesome. We're rolling with this because I know we've been on here for quite some time, but this is just really good stuff. Like, I mean, I could literally talk about this stuff all day long and not get tired. Yeah. But I want to keep it somewhat to a manageable time. So we talked about all these different things. Okay. We've talked about the traits that are needed to be a successful entrepreneur. And I only have about 4 more points that I want to touch on. One of the issues that we see in people is taking ownership of everything that happens. Okay. People always want to pass on. They just don't want to take accountability, right? They don't want to take ownership. And that I think for me, like that was, I don't like that. Okay. When you mess up, like in business, or just don't make excuses. Right. I've been on my 6-year-old about this, in baseball. Like, I've been trying to change his speech little by little, because the first thing out is I can't. And if he strikes out, he say, oh, well, it was too high, or this or that, or the bat. He always has an excuse. And I've been changing that speech little by little. I won't tell you what methods I use. But I've been trying to change it little by little, because it's so important to not push off blame on somebody else. Yeah. Like, you have to take ownership. If you fail, take ownership of it. Yep. Like, if you mess up, listen, we all mess up. Take ownership of that. Accountability is, I believe, in oftentimes like it's a trait. It's something that gets ignored or like gets forgotten by a lot of business owners. I mean, have you seen the show Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, not Undercover Boss. I'm thinking about the wrong show. Have you seen the show uh, Restaurant Impossible? I think it was, or like, or the one with the bar where he would go into bars and like rehab them, and he'd work with like the business owners. Well, Restaurant Impossible was basically a show where this very highly renowned chef and business owner would go into these restaurants that were failing. I mean, they were failing. And these business owners always had an excuse. Oh, well, my employees. Oh, but my managers. Oh, but this. And he would like be in their face, and he would rehab the restaurants, like physically and emotionally, all that. And then he would pass it back to the owners. And then at the end of the show, you would read about whether or not that business is booming now. And oftentimes they went back to their old ways because of accountability. Like, you have to take ownership. I mean, your actions, like, you're responsible for what you say. You're responsible for what you do. You're responsible for, you have to own the outcome.
Yeah.
What do you teach your team about when in regards to taking ownership?
I mean, it's like I say, I tell them too, like, you know, you are in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
That's good.
So that means that, are you doing all the things that you know you should do? I can give you the layout. I can give you the task. I can tell you the in and outs of what has helped me to be successful, but it is up to you to do the things. It is up to you to do the same things, or to pivot, or to do, if something's not working, then it's up to you to pivot, right? I can't go to you and pivot your body. I can't go to you and say, this is what you have to, this is what you have to say. Like, you have to take control of what you do, of how you do things, and if and when you do them. I can't sit here and say, well, business fails because of my team. No, because I am a part of that. What am I doing? It is up to me to do my own things. Like, we have a team goal and we have personal goals. So I can't sit here and say, well, we didn't hit the goal because you guys failed. No, because it starts with me.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, 100%. I mean, it's just, I think people just find it easier maybe to push the blame on because it hurts less, right?
Yeah.
But look, like it's a sense of pride, right? People have this sense of the pride where I don't want to admit I'm wrong because I'll look like a failure, right?
Yeah.
And in reality, you're failing when you don't take responsibility. I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
But so here's something else, Melissa, that people, and not just a lack of accountability, but a lack of being receptive to criticism and feedback. Tell me about the amount of people you've encountered that get offended when you give feedback.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And if I give feedback, oh, she's being negative, or, I'm blocked, or no, you have to be open. If you want to grow, you want to be successful, you have to be open to that, especially from the people who are helping you lead or is paving the way.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I can't sit here, like, my son's in business, right? If he's not open to what I need to share or what someone else needs to share or tell him, then how is he going to be successful? Yeah. How is his business going to grow? So you have to be open to, that criticism, that feedback.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm going to go to my team and just, bash them. No, I'm going to lift you up, but then I'm going to tell you, hey, this could be done differently, or pivot here or pivot there.
Yeah. I mean, like, you have to be coachable.
Yeah. Not chokeable.
Yeah. 100%. I like that. Say that again.
Be coachable, not chokeable.
Oh man, that's good. See, I'm learning something. I'm gonna have to. I hope that's not patent. I'm gonna have to steal that. Yeah, look, I mean, being receptive to criticism and feedback, and we understand, like it's how you do it, right? I mean, you have to
Yeah.
be professional and ethical in how you give feedback, and we understand. So we're not talking about that aspect of it. We're
Yeah.
talking about when someone is genuinely trying to help you and doing the right thing, and you're close to it because you're offended by it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like you can almost, isn't it crazy how you can sense that immediately? Like when you sit down with someone, like when I've had to sit down with reps in the past, or, or just people, or people that I'm coaching, like couples, or,
Hmm.
I do the coaching on the side, and, I help people grow into it. And it's like, they don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear what they've done wrong or how they can
Yeah.
change it because it offends them. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Are you failing or not?
Yeah.
Like, if you're failing,
You want my help or not?
if you're failing at this, what you're doing is clearly not working, right?
Yeah.
So I'm giving you the recipe to be better, and you're going to get offended. Well, I can't help you there. Like, I can only help
Yeah.
people that are coachable. And so you have to be receptive. Like a good entrepreneur, a good business owner is always open to new ideas and criticism, even from the people under them.
Yep.
Guys, don't minimize people just because they're under you.
Yeah.
There are people that their value exceeds your paycheck.
Yeah. Hmm.
And yeah, Jenny Pora said Melissa gives us some tough love.
Listen, I always say, and I always tell them, as a mentor, you're not always going to love me.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be, you're not, it's your mentor is not always going to kiss you.
Yep.
Right. But your mentor is going to push you to where you want to go.
That's right. That's right.
Your mentor is going to help you, encourage you, inspire you, and, get to where you need to be. I always tell them, what's your goals? What's your vision? What's your dream? If it's to be home full time, then I'm going to hold you on to that. And I'm going to push you to that.
Yeah. I mean, Aisha said it too. Correction is encouragement. Correct.
Yeah.
Like, and Jenny also said, if your feelings get hurt when being mentored, then it must, right? So it looks like you've done a good job with Jenny, Melissa. It looks like it's sinking in. You're just in denial and don't like in being called out. Yeah,
being called out. Yeah.
There's some people that don't want to be. They don't want that kind of spotlight. People only love the spotlight when it's something that doesn't hurt their feelings, right? But sometimes, like even the Bible says this really clearly, right? Like, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? Like, I have to bring correction to you at some point because it's going to build you, right? Imagine if nobody was ever corrected. Yeah. I mean, my God, it'd be a free fall. We got two more. We got two more, and we're almost done. I promise. My favorite one, and they're all. I mean, look, they all are very important traits. They all have to go hand in hand. You can't just have one and not the other. Like, you have to work on these little by little, right? It's not going to happen overnight. But one of my favorite ones is passion.
Yeah.
I have never met a business owner that isn't passionate about their business. Okay. I've met salespeople that aren't passionate about what they do, but they're not in business for themselves. But I've never met someone who's in business for themselves that's not passionate about what they do, right? In this day and age, Melissa, for me, it's become about making a difference in people's lives.
Yep.
I never look at customers as a paycheck. I really don't. And look, and you don't. People don't have to believe me if they. It's okay. Like, I know where I stand. I know the truth of who I am.
Yep.
For me, I see it as an opportunity to help people. My favorite satisfaction has been, in the coaching aspect, when people say, hey, like, you're such an important part of my life. I'll give you two different examples if I can. I coached this couple. I've been coaching this couple for years. They weren't married. They've been, I'm not going to obviously put their info out there, but they just struggled in a lot of different ways in their relationship. And, I coached them through the process, through the years, individually, together. My wife and I finally came in towards the tail end of it, and we coached them. And they were in a really low place, and they came to me about a month and a half or so ago and said, hey, we just want to let you know that everything you've poured into us has really just made a huge impact, and we want to get married and do things right now, and we want you to marry us. And so I just had the privilege of marrying them. I had the privilege of marrying them on Father's Day, and see that entire cycle finally come to a close, because I've been doing it for years with them and just kind of working and building them. That's my passion, right? On the other side of it, on the solar side of it, having people text me random text messages, oh my God, like, I just got a bill from the electric company for 70 cents. Like, that excites me, right? Like, I don't care if I only got paid $10 on that. The fact that you're happy is why I went into business for myself, right? And I teach my team all the time. Help people. You're not a salesperson. You're a problem solver. Solve people's problems first. Find that passion. When your business is built around passion, then it will continue. Like, that's the fuel that you'll use to move further. Tell me about passion, Melissa. Like, how do you feel about that trait as an entrepreneur?
I think for me, like, passion is also everything.
Yeah.
Like, my passion to, like you said, like, to see that satisfaction is hearing, like, I say this, or, this is happening. Like, you see the fruits of your labor. And for me, it's like hearing my team, like, oh, I earned this X amount of dollars and I'm going on vacation. Like, Jenny just was in Cancun with her family. That was like a blessing for me to see, because I see that what I'm teaching, what I'm mentoring, what I'm pouring in, it's working, it's helping them, hearing somebody lose, 30 pounds and now they're no longer pre-diabetic, or their A1C number has gotten down. Like, that is fulfilling. That is a blessing to me. And my team, Lanice, she'll be like, I can see you're passionate about what you do, right? Your passion, it just seeps out. And if you don't have a passion for what you do, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to fail. That passion is what's going to wake you up in the morning. That passion is what's going to help you to continue to do the things. And it's just, passion is one of those ingredients that you need to have.
Yeah.
It's what's going to change other people's lives. Yeah. It's that impact that you're going to do.
Passion totally exceeds money for me. I mean, money follows passion. I always it is what it is. And you're right. You're going to fail. Maybe not right away, but at some point you're going to crash and burn because you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, that's why it's my favorite one out of all of them, because it's what drives you. It's what wakes you. It's what fuels you. It's what motivates you. I mean, it's just so many different things that are affected by passion. Like, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be creative. If you're not passionate, you're not going to be open to criticism. Like, passion for me is that one thing that you have to dig deep for before you make any decision about starting a business. Figure out, what are you passionate about? I just had this conversation the other day with one of my son's friends and coworkers. Like, she's kind of on the fence about going to college or doing this, and I'm like, what are you passionate about? Forget what pays the most. What do you see yourself doing for the rest of your life? What is that passion? Figure that out, right? Last one, and then we're going to close out, so we can let everybody go back to what they were doing. Last one, Melissa, the ability to walk in another person's shoes. I kind of struggled with this one a little bit when I went to put it up. I'm like how do I get that message right across? How is that a trait that an entrepreneur has to have? And here's what I came up with, and then I'll let you kind of either piggyback or come up with your own analysis of it. Right. The first word that comes to mind for me is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Empathy is often a trait that gets overlooked by business owners. Okay. Um, like I've met a lot of people in the last 3 years that I've been in the solar industry. I've met a lot of people, not just customers, but I've met a lot of people that work in the industry, a lot of business owners. I've rubbed shoulders with people that make 6, 7 figure, like multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures. Okay. I've met a handful of them who don't really know what's going on with their workforce because they don't take the time to do so. They're kind of like oblivious. Okay. I'll tell you a quick little story. Story about a human resource officer that was reprimanding one of his employees for not performing as expected. And every week, right, this HR officer would call the employee for a meeting and reminded him about how bad he was doing, like all his shortcomings, how he was failing. This is every week, and he never came up with a solution to help the employee. Like it was always just pointing out the negative, what he was doing wrong, but he never offered a solution or any kind of help to make sure that this employee had an opportunity to grow, right? To correct something or to be better. One day, the HR officer stepped in and handled the crisis that the company, the company finally got wind of what was happening. Okay. And knew that this man was doing terribly wrong. It turns out that the reason this rep was doing so bad in the company was because that man, he had just lost his wife, okay, in a divorce, lost his wife and his kids in a custody battle, okay. When he lost his wife and his kids through the divorce, she kept the house. He became homeless.
Wow.
In the process. So he becomes homeless. He's living in a friend's house. He has no wife. He has no kids. So somebody from corporate stepped in instead of the HR person trying to deal with it. They stepped in and told the guy to take a few weeks off to sort things out and to clear their head and to kind of gather themselves again, and then come back to work when he was ready. So the guy did that. He comes back. He was able to get his living situation sorted out, comes back, and then became the top rep in the company. Okay. Let me tell you why I share that story. Business owners who are empathetic, okay, about their team will never go under. They'll never go out of business. You know why? Because it is truly a passion of theirs. For those people that are leaders and business owners, guys, if you're not empathetic about your team, man, I feel bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
And before I go to Melissa, I'll put this comment up. Jenny said, I'm thankful to Melissa to share the opportunity. Thanks to her passion, it motivated me. And I was able to be with my family in Cancun for 12 days, and it was all thanks to my business. Come on. I love reading that stuff. That is so awesome. It is so awesome. My favorite thing to do is to be on vacation and making money while I'm on vacation. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Melissa, I'll let you comment on this before we close out. The ability to walk in another person's shoes. Tell me what that means to you.
To me, I always think of, even when I was in the corporate field, I always thought of everybody coming to me. I look at everybody as somebody's facing something. We just don't know what battle they're facing. Everybody's facing a battle. We just don't know what battle.
Yeah.
And even in my team, they share with me, what they're going through. And it's like, okay, you have to understand that today could be them, but tomorrow could be you.
Yeah, that's good.
And I look at, okay, where I have been, where I am, and where I'm going, but where was I? I was that struggling mom. I was a single mom for a little bit, you know. I had the bankruptcy. I had the no food. I had the no oil to heat the, to heat the house. I had, no money to put the gas in my car. I went through all that. There are people that are facing that, and people that need, me to help them through that, right? So I always think of, when you're looking at your team or anybody, even when you're walking in a store and, okay, maybe somebody looks like they have an attitude or they're going through something, but you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
So treat everybody with kindness, right? Love on people, because you just don't know. And I tell my team all the time, I'm like, I teach them on how to brand themselves and how to, keep their social media to be positive and things like that. And I tell them, I was suicidal.
Mm.
You know what changed me? A positive post on social media changed my whole thought
Wow.
of killing myself.
Mm.
So they can tell you, I teach them, post those positive things, because we don't know who that person is, or if they're going to try to put a needle in their arm, or they're going to try to kill themselves, or what they're facing. We can change. We can be that help and be that change for that person.
That's good.
So it's so, so important that, as a leader, as a mentor, as even a parent, to watch your words and your actions, because those actions, they actually have more meaning than what your words do.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to be kind, right?
Not at all.
But it can cost you everything to be mean. Like, literally,
Yeah.
it can cost you your business, relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. Being empathetic is something that not a lot of people are in touch with, because they feel like being empathetic shows signs of weakness, right? That is shown.
Yeah.
And reality is, I mean, you never know how you're changing someone's life as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. If you want to build a business that is lasting, you have to build it around people knowing that you care, right?
Yeah.
When people know that you care about them, Melissa, I said this in the beginning, people don't quit companies, they quit managers, bosses.
Mm-hmm.
People don't always quit because they weren't making enough money.
Yep.
That's just a smokescreen. Most people quit because they're just unhappy. They don't feel valued, right?
Yeah.
When they feel valued and when they feel empowered, they'll work. I mean, they'll do anything, right? They'll do anything because they believe in you and they believe in the company, but really you are the company, right? So, just awesome. Such good stuff. Melissa, we're going to close out, but before I do that, I want to give you a few seconds to kind of, before your closing argument. Look at me. We're in court. We're judging all you who are failing right now. No. Before your closing thoughts, I want to give you an opportunity to share with people, for those watching that may not be on your team already. If someone is interested in a career change, right? Being in business for themselves, how can they get a hold of you to learn a little bit about what you do in your company?
On Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over.
You're like white rights.
I'm all over. But also, you can email me, call me, text me, trust me. Type my name, you'll find me somewhere.
Yeah. Now, listen, it's so, I mean, we'll have to do another Facebook Live on the power of being in business for yourself and the freedom that it affords you. But there's just no better feeling in the world to building a brand, building a team around you of people that are like-minded. No better feeling than being away on vacation and knowing you can still make money. No better
Yeah.
feeling than to not have to clock out. No better feeling than to have to ask for a days off to go see your kid at their school play. Like, there's
Yeah.
just so many things I can say about it. I can't say enough about it. But for those that are interested in a career change and being a part of an awesome team, whether you're male or female, like you said earlier, it's not confined to a female.
Mhm.
Like, if you just want to change, and you want to learn a little bit about what Melissa does and the brand and the company and the product and what she does, reach out to her on the Facebook page. I believe she's sharing it here and she's tagged in it as well. So just click on it and find a way to her and just have a chat with her. She's easy to chat with and she's passionate about what she does. And then same thing for me, for those that are interested in a little bit about what I do in terms of being in business for myself. Same thing, reach out to me. And again, it's hard work. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah.
But it's very, very, very worth it. So we'll close out by giving Melissa about 30 seconds. Melissa, one thing that you would say to every person watching this, whether they're live or watching this on repeat, what one thing would you say to them if they're considering starting their own business or have already started their business? What advice would you give them?
One, don't give up. Just keep pushing. Opposition's going to come. Things are going to happen, but you have to be disciplined. Continue to rise, continue to push forward, and know that with God, all things are possible, right? Keep him first, keep him in the forefront, and everything else shall be added. And like we've mentioned, it's far beyond money.
Yeah.
It's the freedom. It's the freedom of time. And like I said, time is something you can never get back. Time is something you can never get back.
I mean, that hits home because time is so important. And if I had to, I can share that same sentiment. Don't quit. Keep going. Dig deep. Find that motivation within you, and align. I would say this: align yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with positive people and people that have been where you want to go. Right. So that's all we got for you guys. Melissa, I can't believe we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. That's crazy, but it was so good. It feels like a lot of people got a lot of value out of it. So, Melissa, thank you for being on. Thank you for accepting the challenge. No, anytime. I'd love to have you back sometime and talk about some other stuff some other time. But thank you guys for watching. For all those of you watching, thank you for tuning in. There's some people that have been on the entire time, probably like 5 or 6 of them. That's awesome. Thank you, Jenny, for tuning in. Aixa, all of you guys. We love you guys. We believe in you. And stay encouraged and just go out there and make it happen and don't quit. Okay, guys? Thank you guys for watching. Melissa, I'll see you.
All right. Bye.